Hello, everyone. I'm Anushka,
Hi, I'm Nida.
and this is Girl Up GMA. Welcome back to our Modern Girls podcast. Today, we have someone very special with us.
The guest we have with us today started writing poetry as a means to deal with feelings and emotions. It expanded to writing on things that she is passionate about, be it the environment, feminism, or body positivity. She was extremely delighted to attend the Poetic Heart this year and has spoken about poetry at the Middle East and North American Youth Talk, as well as the EYP platform, where she combined poetry and the environment. So we're glad to have with us today Paridhi Bhatia.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Hi, thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
joining
much for
us.
joining us. So, how are you doing, Paridhi?
I'm really good. Just dealing with whole of 11th grade, having a fresh start after boards being cancelled. How are you guys?
We're good. As you know, we've graduated, so we've got quite a bit of time on our hands, but we're so glad that you managed to take the time out to talk to us. We know 11th grade can be really hectic. But ever since we started Modern Girls, we knew that you were one of the people we wanted to feature. I think we've been reading your poetry and the work that you do on Instagram for so long, and we've always heard your name around school. And so we were like, this is really someone we have to feature on our podcast. So thank you so much for joining us.
We've been delighted to have you contribute to our magazine Artemisia every now and then. And it's been so nice to feature your work in the magazine. I think you've been a very constant name in the magazine.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute honor to be on such a platform that really empowers the girls to reach their full potential.
Thank you so much. So, Paridhi, I think we'll just get right into the questions because I think this is one question that whenever we meet any writer or a poet, this is always the first question that people have in their minds is what got you interested in writing and poetry?
So I think for me, when I was in grade 8, I created my Instagram account for the first time and I received a lot of comments on my posts. Not all of them were very positive. And I think that's really when I started writing poetry to sort of bring into context that poems and Instagram can really be used in so much better ways than what we're doing in middle school. And that's really when I really started writing poetry.
That sounds incredible. I mean, I think when we all started Instagram in like middle school, I don't think any of us had the idea of like sort of using writing and poetry. I mean, over the years, we have seen some of our seniors start their own writing accounts, but it's incredible that you had this idea and this thought process so early on.
It was really just sort of telling the students around me that we have Instagram, we have social media, but it's not just for those likes and negative comments, but it can be used in so much positive ways that we really have not explored as yet.
Absolutely. I think that's right. And I think that to have that insight as young as in eighth grade, it's amazing. So, you told us about why you started writing and why you chose the platform of Instagram. But what do you enjoy the most about the writing process?
I feel there are two aspects to that. One would be the part where I'm actually putting down my emotions onto paper, putting them down as posts. And the second one would be the process where, the students are coming back to me and they're telling me, oh, I've gone through this experience as well, or thank you so much for writing about it. I can relate to it so much. That's sort of like the part where I really like the constructive criticism that they all give me to improve my work constantly.
That's amazing, especially the feeling that what you're writing is actually resonating with your audience.
So, Paridhi, what inspires you? I mean, I'm sure it would have to do with your real life experiences as well. But really, what gives you that motivation to write and where does your work stem from?
One of the poets that really inspired me a lot was Sarah Kay. She's one of these spoken word poets whose expressions and feelings resonate so much with the audience. So she was the biggest inspiration for me when I started writing. Other things that inspire me are mostly the situations and experiences. Personally, if I see someone going through something, I try to put it down on paper, write a poem, and then give it to them just so they can pen down their expressions, really have that strike and that moment where they calm down, process the situation they're in, and then look at it in a different light.
Absolutely. I think that's wonderful that you write for others as well. Because, of course, there is that originality that comes with writing pieces from your own experiences, but also it does give a voice to those who sometimes find it more difficult to express what they're going through. And I think that's really what's so special about sharing poetry. Because I remember when I used to write poetry as well, I was in a little younger grade. I think I kind of left off poetry in between. But when I did, and when I used to share my pieces with my friends, I think the best feeling is always when they're like, this is exactly what I was feeling, but I didn't know how to put it into words, and you did that for me. And I think that's so special that you're doing that for your friends as well. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you so much. I've read some of your pieces. Actually, when you went for the Poetic Heart a couple of years ago, I was there in the audience and I was like, this is such an amazing piece. And I really got inspired by your work when I was a junior.
Oh, thank you so much. And I think it's so special that you went on to win at Poetic Heart yourself also and get recognized that platform. I mean, that I feel like that's just a really like nice full circle moment over there. So thank you so much and good job to you as well.
Thank you.
So, Paridhi, you told us about how when you write about things that you see people around you or your friends going through, it gives them a way to, recognize their feelings and kind of understand their feelings. And in a way, it empowers them to, deal with what they're going through. So, how has poetry empowered you as an individual?
I feel that for me, it has given me sort of the platform to really process situations because it's kind of like you amplify your emotions in a poem. But when you're dealing with a situation in real life, you need to really tone down those emotions when you're dealing with it, see it in a more practical sort of perspective. And poetry kind of gives that balance where you're absolutely like increasing your emotions to a point where you can actually express it in words and really just bringing it down to the point where you're practical enough to deal with it in real life. So I think that's really where it started empowering me and the way I deal with things around me.
Wow, that's very inspirational. I mean, I've never written poetry myself, but it's just so wonderful to know that it's been such a wonderful tool for you to express yourself and express your emotions.
I'm sure you could try your hand at it and it would be just as great as any of our pieces because I'm sure anyone can just write poetry. It's just about expressing your thoughts into words.
I'll definitely try.
Yeah, I think poetry and just writing in general really has a therapeutic aspect to it as well. I think just getting your emotions down and expressing it through pen and paper can allow you to also reflect on what you're feeling. And I think that always allows you to process things better. So, absolutely well said right there, Paridhi. And as we mentioned before, that you have written based on your own experiences and feelings that you have gone through. So, has your writing ever been influenced by your experiences as a girl, specific experiences or occasions that have been really influenced by the fact that, you're a girl and these are certain things that only women tend to go through? And have you ever used poetry to talk about women centric topics?
There was a time when I would write about breast cancer, but then I realized that breast cancer is something that men go through as well. And then I was like, why don't we start writing about poetry about breast cancer with the relation to men as well? So I think that was one moment where I really diverted my shift. But other than that, I have written poetry for like body positivity, sort of the image that women are expected to fit into with respect to society. So I feel those sort of topics are something that we need to write more. No matter how much we write about them, there's always scope of increasing the amount of empowerment we have in that sort of area.
Absolutely. And I think any amount of conversation that we can start around it is good conversation. And as long as people are talking about it and they're aware of it, those are really important things. And I think poetry is a fantastic tool for that.
I absolutely agree with that because the more we talk about it, the more people will be empowered, the more people will actually have the situation where they can deal with what they're dealing with.
So you talked about how you shifted perspective from, writing about breast cancer from only the female point of view, actually incorporating and, bringing light to the fact that men also suffer from breast cancer. It's not an exclusively, it's not a disease that exclusively occurs and happens in ladies. So in that way, you did shift perspective, and that's amazing to be doing that at such a young age. Now, as a writer and as a student as well, do you think writing can be a tool for, change and bringing positive changes to society, and how?
Absolutely. I think writing is a great tool to really express your ideas, not in the way that it was traditionally used in actually writing and publishing a book, but maybe even simple things like writing stuff on your Instagram stories or posting blogs, journals. That sort of aspect of writing can really bring the youth, their voice to the light, and empower so many other students in that sort of way. So I absolutely think writing has a great power to really bring about a change in today's world.
Absolutely. And I think we've seen through your writing and your poetry that so many people have actually, felt like they're not the only ones going through something because they've read your poetry, and, it gives people a sense of reassurance that they're not alone in their fight. And I think that is an amazing, amazing service to your community.
Thank you so much. I feel like if every single one of us just writes one experience we have faced, it would help so many more people. So that's something we can all try to do. Just write one thing that you feel that you're going through alone, and maybe you're not the only one.
Absolutely.
That's so well said, Paridhi. And I think just the fact that you are actively using poetry as your voice and encouraging other people to use it as their voice as well is just such an empowering concept. And I really hope more people also realize the power of just getting your opinions out there, because, there's so many shared discussions and conversations that we have one to one or with our friends. And I don't think sometimes we realize the value of putting it out there for the world to see. And I think sometimes there is an element of fear of putting out something that's incredibly vulnerable to you, or putting out your own opinions for the entire world to see and judge and dissect. But I think there's incredible power in that as well. And so I mean, we're all really proud of the fact that you're actively doing that every day, making yourself vulnerable, putting yourself out there, expressing yourself, because there's always scope of getting backlash and having people talk about you and your opinions, maybe to you or even behind your back. There is always that risk as well. So the fact that you're actively doing this is just amazing, and we're so, so proud of you. And I hope you keep on using poetry as a tool for change and for empowering yourself and the people around you.
Thank you so much. And I feel that if someone is very scared to put something out with their name, really writing it anonymously would help them. Just write without your name, just write under a pen name and get your voice out there, because that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. I think that's very true, because we've seen a lot of poetry accounts that we know are our friends, but they use different usernames just because um, of supposed backlash, or just because they don't want the opinions to be theirs. And I think any way of putting your art out on Instagram, especially now that Instagram's evolved into this wonderful platform where people showcase their talents, it's amazing. And you've been one of the trailblazers, especially in your grade, in your batch, and in our school as well, using Instagram so regularly as a platform to express your voice. And we're all so proud of you. Like when Anushka and I were discussing this interview, we said that she's like younger than us, but she's doing such amazing work. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all of that. I really think it goes out to like everyone who's really supported me on the journey. So I can't be credited alone in that.
I mean, there is always a team behind the person, but of course, a lot of the credit does go to you as well. And we can't wait to see the incredible things that you do, both within our school community as an incredible modern girl, but also outside of the community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Paridhi. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much for having me. And I hope you continue to empower so many other people using this platform, because it really is amazing. So thank you so much. It was an honor to be here.
Thank you so much, Paridhi. Bye.